the next part about our panel is actually, that kind of is a nice segue into it, is the business creation aspect of doing our projects on the web. And one thing that Jeff and I were talking about is that each project, each thing that we do in, digital media, it's as if it's its own small business. You have to come up with a concept, you have to come up with a design, the pre-production, manufacturing, the production, the post-production part. And I was curious, or we were curious, what do you guys find to be the most difficult part about it? And yeah, what do you find to be the most difficult part about your project?
I think I'm quite lucky now that having sort of moved on 5 years, I'm working with a lot more business models than we had sort of back in 2008. So back in 2008, it was sort of like direct sponsorship. You could maybe do a Kickstarter if it was available in your country, which for many of us in Canada and in the UK you couldn't do. And now we're working on shows with we call blended funding streams. So I'm doing a show at the moment which originated from a product placement agency that came to us and said, listen, can we, we want to connect with this particular audience. Do you have something for us? And that's a very unique situation to be in now. A lot of the other shows, the creators that I'm meeting at the moment, it's everything from product placement to sponsorship to shared media, earned media, and definitely, your Kickstarter or your Indiegogo, and then there's in-kind sponsorship. So they're all different kinds of sort of income streams and lots of negotiations that are happening. Which, when you think about it at this level, and by this level I mean the sort of, still very much on the ground, I really want to make something, back, these are tiny amounts of money still being negotiated, sort of, sub 10K, sub 20K, and you may be talking to, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different, organizations and entities that you're having to bounce off of each other. So, I think there's still a sort of jump to make, before it can be, I guess, easier in any kind of like model that is sort of set in stone. There's no kind of clear path. I think on the flip side of it, I think it's good that all of these avenues are available, but I think as a producer, or as any of the producers on the chat will testify to, it's just takes so much time, so much energy for so little money. But you have to do what you have to do to get it done.
Yeah, I completely agree. One of the most frustrating parts about funding our stuff is, even in this world, we've gotten some numbers that, like, within this world, they're like, oh, that's a lot of money. But if you really look at it, it's really not. Like, when you know how much money people get for television production, and you compare it to what you're doing in the web, it barely covers like 20% of one show. Like, you could literally get maybe a minute of some acting, but that's about it. No post-production work, no nothing. It's so frustrating, because even when companies do come, such as the show that I was in, Leap Year, it was actually a branded entertainment series that was sponsored by an insurance company in England. And when they came to us and told us we want to target this audience, we were like, awesome. And then we're like, wait a second, this is going to be really hard, because the money that you're giving us, I mean, we worked ourselves to the bone, because it was just, we knew we had to do it, and we knew there was no way we were going to get more money. But we also know in that aspect that in this world, it was an opportunity that doesn't come around very often. But yet it's still a really frustrating aspect of this world, and of the digital media era, because nobody really knows like what you do, and nobody really knows oh wait, they want to make it like quality production, but here, this is it, you know. So I don't know if any of you other ladies have something. I'm sure you actually have something to add to this. I'm sure we've all been there.
I mean, I'll speak to some part of it. First, the part of it that doesn't have to do with funding, but you asked about, producing. When we make a show, especially those of us who create the show or write the show and produce the show, which is most of us, but for me, coming from traditional television and stage, for me, even it was and is a completely immersive experience because every part of it belongs to us, and we are responsible for, and with Tina and I, for anyone but me, and even, well, Bestsellers was a little different, but for anyone but me, I think we're both perfectionists and want what we want. The great thing about that is there is no middleman. The great thing about that is there's no one is editing, criticizing, except one another.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, the getting up at 6 in the morning and going to bed at midnight with that on my brain was really a terrific thing. But in terms of how you pay people for it or get money for it, we started in 2008 too. That's when we launched. And every year, at least in the last 2 years, the methods of funding have shifted. We raised money for a third season by doing a webathon, which one had done before. And we poured all of this time and actually money into making new video for our fans, and we raised, over $33,000 to make part of the season. Yeah, and that was a great thing. But it's shifting now, I think, in good ways. But to me, and maybe because I could afford at this moment in my life the ability to own something, to make it happen, to get it out there, is still, and it must be for all of us, worth all that time and effort we put into it, worth the trying to find a way to make it, In this country, though, we don't have what Canada has, for example. We don't have money coming at artists or being shared with artists. So that's problematic.
Well, who needs artists?
Canada, if I may speak to that, I think the money coming into the Canada I think it seems more to everyone than it actually is.
Anything, Regan, is something. Anything is
totally true. Totally true. But it's a very specific fund with very specific mandate. And yes, there is absolutely money there, but that is kind of the one thing. And the majority of creators here are still doing what everyone else is doing as far as finding other forms of money.
That's right.
We always need more money, right? Like we could always use more.
Yeah,
just make you go ahead. I was actually going to ask you about your first season, and I'm sure that you're experiencing this as we speak right now.
Right. Well, that's the dream. Of course, you want people to see something and be as passionate as you are about it. And now, like I said, I'm an actress. That's what I moved out to. That's what I went to school for. That's my, what I'm comfortable in, what I know is that acting thing. Like I said, I've always written things. I do poetry. I do all these things. So I've always written as I was acting, but my focus was I'm going to be a star, and I want to get on a television series. I want to work as an actress. And you get out here, and everybody wants to do what you do. And so, like I said, during my downtime of when I came out here, I was fortunate. I was booking work. Things were happening. I was like, okay, this is not so bad. And then it kind of shifted. Like I was, things weren't happening like they used to. And when things like that happen to me, especially as an artist, I had to, you know, outside of being slightly frustrated, I had to look at like, okay, well, how am I being talked to now? Like, what is it I'm supposed to do? And like I said, as I was tweeting these funny things that were happening with me and my son, or as I was just talking about me and my son and this whole mom's thing, this idea came up, you know, this thing came up, and I was totally, I'm like, everybody's doing a web series, everybody's doing this, everybody's having an Indiegogo campaign, nobody's going to donate to me, why, you know, this and this and that. And then I just had to take that out the equation, and I was just like, just go ahead and do it. Just go ahead and write and do this. And for me, I didn't think, yeah, the money thing and all that is important, but to take some of that, because I think sometimes we think about the big, you know, we put it all out there, and we think about how I'm going to get the director and the production. And what I had to do first was, you know, write it. Just write it, take it step by step, and say, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to worry about, I need a $50,000 right now. Let me just write it and really for myself take it step by step. And I knew at the end of I think for me at the end of the day, I said if somebody didn't give me money, what was I willing to sacrifice for my project, for what I wanted to do? Because nobody's going to have more passion about it than me. Nobody, you know, people might be like, oh, that's cute, that's a nice idea. People still come, oh, that's wonderful. But at the end of the day, it's kind of on you, because people may be excited one minute and then they're not excited. And things, and you're the one who has to stick with it. So I knew that I had to, you know, take my check or take this little part, or what was I willing to sacrifice for what I wanted to do if somebody was telling me no, that they weren't going to give me money. We had an Indiegogo campaign. I mean, we got a couple $100. So thankful for that, and I had to keep it moving. And so for me, I was totally prepared for it to come out of my pocket. Just totally like, I'm committed to this, it'll come out of my pocket, and let's do it, and not have, and then I didn't want to worry about people telling me what they needed or what they wanted. I mean, I felt like, you know, it gave me, I felt more, I don't want to say power like, oh, but you know, it gave me more, but it gave me, like, I didn't have to kind of answer to anybody, because I'm the one funding it, you know. And so, and I definitely had help. And as an artist, you get creative. It teaches you to be more creative, or to be honest with people. This is what I have. Are you willing to come on? You might find, you know, somebody else who's just looking to be on set and help you out, or who might want to be a part of a project and they're okay with you not paying them, and they just want the credit, or they see what you're trying to do and they help out. So I was advantageous.
Or they just want to work.
Or they just want to work.
They just want to work.
So I did. Fortunately, I was very honest with people, and they were like, well, we'll see what you're trying to do. We'll help out. And it was just, I just took it step by step. I didn't try to overwhelm myself with too much. Like, how are we going to get out there? I was like, let's just take episode by episode, step by step. And for me, that's what worked. And as I did it, as I kind of put it out there, then I would notice I might get an unexpected check from somewhere, or I might get somebody saying, hey, I'll help you with that because I know how to do that. Or this is my rate, but I see what you're trying to do. I'll work with you.
Well, you going into the step-by-step thing, I mean, I think it proves itself, because I noticed from your episode 5 to episode 6, you jumped in views. Like,
well, we had a couple of factors that.
No, but you did. But at that point, you knew. You had was it a PR company at that point that you had?
No, and that's the other. We had a couple. I had a lot of people reaching out as the series was, you know, we try to put out an episode every 2 weeks, and as the series was being put out, I was fortunate. I just kind of did my thing on Facebook, and I had people kind of reaching out to me. Oh, this is interesting. Do you want to be on the radio? We'll do a write-up. And so it just started kind of growing into this thing where, yeah, you kind of worried about hiring a PR person, but I had people reaching out to me saying, I'll help you. What do you need? This and that. I like what you're trying to do. And that's what I found, that people were trying to help me. And my inexperience, and, you know, kind of with the YouTube thing, that people were like, oh, well, this is what you need to do. And those people helped me. And so I was just very advantageous in that way, and still learning. Like, I just went to a workshop the other day, so I'm still learning, you know, this side of it. Like, I'm comfortable in my writing.
We have to. This age
Yeah, it's different.
It moves so quickly. We have to keep learning and keep, putting ourselves out there.
Right.
That actually, it leads into the next question about the business aspect of it. And Tina, I actually wanted to touch base with you on this because I know that you have different forms of distribution. I wondered, what do you think is what do you think is the most important distribution venue? Like, how important do you find distribution? Whether that be what's that?
Distribution is rather important.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, Hulu, because I knew that Anyone But Me was on Hulu and it was on YouTube, and I just wondered what do you find, like, what are the differences? How important did you find the distribution to be, and which venues of that?
Well, I mean, there's certainly difference between Hulu and YouTube, and I think everybody, needs to be on YouTube. I mean, it's still where everybody goes to find videos and everything, so it's important. And we have, for Anyone But Me, a huge viewership on YouTube. We never really, went out and specifically tried to push YouTube, but it just happened. And so the kind of difference is, like, Hulu has, unfortunately, since Hulu is geo-blocked, it's essential for us to be on YouTube because more of our fans are international than here in the States. But Hulu brought a bit of, like, it looks a little more, I guess, bigger or classier or whatever to people to be on, especially when we first got on it. Gosh, I don't remember now, 2009? 8? Yeah. Whenever we first landed on there, it was a big deal to be on there, and I still get people ask, how can we get on Hulu? How can we get on Hulu? So it's a big deal to be on there. It's like totally, to me, it feels like a different demographic or a different type of viewer that's on Hulu as opposed to YouTube. So
it's almost like you feel like it's a little bit more credible.
Yeah, it makes because anybody can upload to YouTube, but Hulu, it's a little harder to get on. So yeah, it does give you a little bit more credibility. There's the ad revenue difference that we won't totally get into, but there is that. But it's important to be anywhere you can be. I don't. I mean, if you can get on Hulu, that's fantastic. But you always have to be on YouTube, which everybody can be on. But
exactly.
I also feel like YouTube is really, Rochelle and Regan could probably talk about that too. That how it's kind of changed since we first came on board. I feel like YouTube now is so much gearing towards YouTubers and just the two-camera shows and all that stuff, so much more now than ever, that I feel like there's become like a bit of a divide in web TV or streaming media, as I've noticed it's been called for, like Netflix and stuff. But there's this divide between scripted shows and the YouTuber shows, and it's becoming even more and more vast, I see all the time. So it's been interesting since coming aboard so early on to see so many changes happen, and there's been some good things for sure. I think distribution, even from when we started in 2008, is still the same idea, is that you need to get everywhere you can get.
Absolutely.
That's the end all. It's just like everywhere you can. I've had people ask, well, should I be on YouTube or Blip? And I'm like, why is that even a question?
Just be where you can be.
Yes, it's like there's no question. There's no either or anything like that. It's be wherever you can be. But there's definitely different audiences in those different places. And even with Vimeo, I know people that have web series that are just strictly on Vimeo, and that's a different audience. So, it's very interesting. It's nice and kind of fun to see like the schism that in some ways has happened with these different aggregators. But you still have to be everywhere you can be. That's the end all.
I think it depends on the genre that you're going on. Sorry.
Okay, Rochelle, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
No, I was just saying, I think it depends on the genre. I completely agree with with Tina in that, you know, I think the sort of the sort of phenomenon of the YouTube, the so-called YouTube millionaires, and those sorts of shows that kind of attract those are completely made for the audience, or rather the user experience that one expects from YouTube. I think if you have a scripted series, or in fact actually any series, if you ask most people where they encountered the series, it wasn't actually on the platform. It was on Twitter or on Facebook, or because one of their friends recommended it. So it doesn't really, you know, I think if you're just starting out, it's just really important to build community around it, regardless of what platform it is, because ultimately the platform is just the platform. You know, for a lot of us, we just use it as the player, you know, and it is from a technology perspective. You know, prudent to have it on something like YouTube because it's already, or you know, any of the good ones because it's already, you know, optimized for things like mobile viewing, you know, and then serves things like that. But I think ultimately, if you're trying to build an audience, just putting your show on a platform and praying for the audience on that platform to find it or to watch it is not probably the best way to go. You know, I completely agree that you should be absolutely everywhere, but I look at Twitter and Tumblr and now Instagram and Vine as much more important in terms of you know, building your audiences, as much as, you know, the sort of natural audience or the kind of, you know, footfall audience that you'll get on, you know, YouTube or Blip or any of the other platforms.
Can I just add something?
Please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. And actually, Rochelle, you made me think about this because I do believe, of course, I believe we need all those platforms, but I don't believe we built our audience on Twitter or Facebook. We didn't build it, but we helped with that. Building your audience brings up the whole other area, which is YouTube doesn't, in and of itself, bring people, and Hulu, I think, does bring a certain audience you don't usually get, but these people aren't going out to help with your PR. You have to do that. I mean, you have to reach out to blogs and online journals and any kind of media. More and more are covering web, television, indie series than were. But I mean, that's how you do it at first. And then the platforms that you're on, the distribution sites, of course, multiply that, or people know to go there. And your Facebook page and your own website, which is really important because you can tell people what's going on with your show and so on. So I think they work together. But Tina and I, obviously, we feel the same about this. Certainly in the beginning, you want to get out there. I mean, I don't think there's anything to lose by getting out there. You know, especially when no one knows you in the first place. And then you hone that. Then then maybe you tailor make it. But none of these places offer exclusive deals anyway, so you don't lose anything.
It's funny, Susan, you know, you saying that just getting out there, that's what we did when we first started out. The reason why we got out, I guess, is, to say it like that, is because of a MySpace contest. We had a MySpace contest that we saw randomly one day on their little ad pop-up thing, pitch your own web show. And it was through It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and we had just finished an independent film that we were going to start editing. And so we said, oh, 5 minutes? Sure, whatever. It doesn't even matter. Like, that'll take us a day. So we did that, and we ended up gaining a really big following because we had it through MySpace. We had it through, you know, YouTube, and we had a lot of people, like, you know, following up. Oh, you know, is there going to be more to this? And then, you know, Yuri and Vlad and Dashiell and Justin, they reached out to people, like, whether it be social media, whether it be like online journals and all of that stuff. Like, and that's how we got started. I mean, I think that I think that distribution is really important, but I do think that, like what you said, I think that, and also what Rochelle was saying, social media and just like throwing your name wherever you possibly can, sending that email to that person that you think maybe will help you is ridiculously important. Why not? What can they say? They can say no. That's it. Or just not say anything at all, and that's fine. You just keep plugging, you know?
Yeah, well, I definitely think it's a combination of a lot of different things. Me and the young lady who's helping me produce, we still made up flyers so that anytime that we're out, you're gonna get a card from me. You're gonna get a plugger about moms. That's just how it's gonna go. That good old fashioned word of mouth. And yeah, we definitely can't ignore things like Twitter and Facebook, because like I didn't set up my Facebook. I personally, just as Saadiqa, wasn't interested in allowing all these people to come into my world. And I'm like, whoa, I don't, some people I don't know. But since doing this, I was like, I kind of have to. And that's how I've gotten a lot of my PR. My friends are asking me, like, how did you even get this newspaper to write about you? Because I sent them a message to go please like my series, Moms. They said, oh, this is interesting. I have a paper. I'll write an article about you, Yeah. And so, like, I can't ignore that. Or, telling people on Twitter. Or even if I handed out something, and you never know. I went to a workshop yesterday where it was some people who were looking for content. They were like, oh, we've already gotten an email about moms. Like, I've already seen this. You just never know who's saying what about what, even when you think, like, I'm dragging my feet, and I don't know if this is even working. So to utilize, especially all avenues. I don't think you can underestimate anything, because even though it sometimes seems like it's maybe moving slow, people are noticing, or people are hearing. It's just that you have to keep pressing, like I said, at the end of the day, and trying to utilize all resources and be open to hearing different information. Like I didn't most of the women on the panel started in 2000. 8. I just started that this year, and I was like, I'm still learning about this YouTube stuff. I have to go to my sister who's 21 in college, and this is their thing. This is what they're doing.
We're always learning. You're never get done learning. We're always still learning. It's all good.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my goodness, I gotta catch up. What are you guys doing?
But you have more people now you have more people to go to. We didn't have anybody to go to.
Yeah. Right. Yes, exactly. So
we have sisters right here.
Yeah, exactly. You're absolutely right. You have sisters right here.
Sisters. Yeah.
We all look really different, but
that's good. But I think that speaks to, I love this. I love this discussion. I love this panel, because it just, being out here. As an artist, you need that support. You need to talk to one another. You need to communicate, because something that I didn't know, or just how we can help each other and utilize all the resources, especially as an artist, because you do have to. Nobody is throwing money saying go live your dream. You have to really.
No. I beg to differ. That just happened to me. I just walked down the street, and that just happened to me. I don't know where you're walking in LA, but I'm walking in the right place.
I need to follow you.
Apparently.
We should go on a walk together.